Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of She Renovates. Now, many of you know that I have been playing in the digital asset area, and James and I, during the year, bought a website really based on toilets, and I've got a puppy website, and anyhow, so we've been playing around with those things, and many people have been asking me about that. And so what I thought I would do is ask my mentor, Matt Rad, onto the podcast to really, so that you could hear it from the horse's mouth, so to speak. And just to give you a little bit of background, Matt is the co-founder and CEO of the eBusiness Institute with his wife, the beautiful Liz Rad. And they are business and website investors, angel investors, and leading educators in website design, website monetization, and digital marketing. They are recognised as the Australian experts in flipping websites through buying, renovating, and selling profitable websites and business. Their mission is to help people retrain for the digital age, and in their private training courses and coaching programs, they take absolute beginners through to earning full or part-time incomes from buying or building online businesses. So welcome to the podcast, Matt, and I can personally vouch for the fact that you absolutely do that. And even more importantly, people who are on the wrong side of 50 and way over the hill are nailing digital investing. So welcome.
Thank you so much for having me on, Bernadette. And thank you for your kind words. And it is actually literally a passion of ours, is, as you know, in our community, retraining people who are 50 plus and with kids and stuff like that, because none of us grew up with computers. So I'm in my 50s. I'm, of course, Bernadette, not allowed to say the age of Liz, but she's probably not 50. That's all I can say. But it is our specialty, teaching complete beginners, because it does. The main thing, I think, is on the surface, it's like, oh, wow, you're buying and selling and renovating websites. There's all this technical side. Really, for your community, we liken it to buying and renovating real estate. It's pretty much the same concept. Anyone that's listening to this and that's in your community would get the concept of what Liz and I do, I think.
Absolutely. Except you're talking about vastly different amounts of money.
Very true. So that's one of the things that I think always attracted Liz and I, or what we loved about buying and selling websites, because our actual background, so full disclosure to everyone, we've done a bit of real estate investing over the years, but Liz and I absolutely love buying and selling businesses. And it used to be bricks and mortar businesses, and it used to be, in particular, manufacturing businesses or wholesale import businesses. And the big problem with that is exactly the same problem that you real estate investors have, is we've got to go to the bank all the time to get money. And it's even harder in business, especially when you're a young entrepreneur, like we were back, this was 30 years ago. And so with those, we call it heavy assets. Liz and I came up with this term amongst ourselves, so real estate, we did do real estate. So any last cent we would make, we would put into real estate back then. And we'd call that a heavy asset, because literally we're in debt to the bank for hundreds of thousands of dollars, and then on our bricks and mortar businesses way beyond that. And when we discovered the internet, what we realized is that we can get into this game without having to spend the hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars to get the same sort of returns. And I think people don't realize that with websites. It's not like a traditional bricks and mortar business or real estate where you've got to spend 500,000 to $1 million even just to get ahead. We've got clients, and ourselves included, like seriously, the sweet spot is buying websites under 50 grand, but even under $5,000. As you've seen, Bernadette, in our community, look at some of the amazing money-making sites that once people know how to renovate them, they can make some really good money off. But just even getting into the game and learning this, you can do it for under 5 grand. Now it's not going to make you rich overnight or anything like that. But it's a learning. But having said that, what our concept is we start out everyone. This is why I love teaching beginners, because you can start out small and you buy multiple websites and you build up a portfolio like you do with bricks and mortar, say real estate. It's just that you're buying little tiny websites, maybe $1,000 here, $5,000, and you've just got this mini portfolio, and the cash returns are, some of these sites will make anywhere from $500 a month up to thousands of dollars a month. So it's a really nice side hustle.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. So was it boot camp was the weekend before last, and there was some amazing sites there that are making. So it's almost the sky's the limit, isn't it?
It is. Yeah. So we had, at that one, we also had our friend, like Albors, who sold his car site for $60 million. He's just here in Brisbane. But even amongst our students, we've got, I think at that boot camp, Bernadette, it was Nathan and Alexa, we're going to talk about them this weekend. Their little site that they bought for $400 was, so what we teach when you're listening to this is like what you guys do with real estate. We're looking for rundown websites that have been neglected, but they just need a coat of paint, a real basic makeover, a real slight renovation, and then we gently maintain them over the coming years. And so Nathan and Alexa, they've got this down to an art form, doing exactly what we teach, and they buy passion sites, which is our main strategy, and they just buy multiple passion sites, typically under I don't know, these days under $10,000. When they started out, they were real estate investors and they ran out of money with the banks. So they started doing our strategy to get extra cash flow, because our strategy is very high cash flow. It's not about, like, you can make a big asset out of it, but realistically it's about the high cash flows. And their $400 gardening site that was run down, bought off a guy here in Australia, just been totally neglected. That site now makes $4 grand a month. So you compare that to real estate, what sort of a property do you have to hold to make $4,000 a month semi-passively? It's not totally passive, but, you think about, you're up for just the stamp duty alone is well, here in Queensland, well, definitely New South Wales, you're up for a big amount of money to try and generate that $4 grand a month. These guys are doing it off a little tiny website that costs them less than $400. And they've got multiple sites like that, and they now, live on their laptops. They're a young couple, and they've been traveling around the world living off their laptop. But that's a sort of cash flow return. Do I need to say not typical, all that sort of stuff? But really, you can, at any time, you can buy those sites. That's what you're seeing in our community.
Absolutely. And so I'm just wondering, hi, Linda. Yes, it's pretty amazing. Linda's saying, wow. So just before we go on, I just wanted to mention about the summit on the weekend, because you've very kindly given me some tickets to give away. So do you want to just talk about that now? And I'll just let everyone know, if they would like one, what they need to do to get one. And
because, well, talking of all these amazing stories from people from our community, what we do is once a year we run an annual summit, and it's closed doors. You normally need to be on our program to get access, but because Bernadette's a personal friend of Liz and mine, and also she's part of our community, and we love working with her on her websites, she's going to be able to, as her guest, you can come along as her guest. And what we do at this behind closed doors, this is our big annual summit. So there'll be over 500 to 600 odd people there, all from around the world, but mostly from Australia. But the cool thing is you can actually get out. It's all virtual, but we've set it up in a way that allows you to network. That's really important in our community, because this is so new to most people. You don't realize how this works. Where else do you get to meet people that are buying and renovating websites? Well, at our summit this weekend on Saturday and Sunday. And we have story after story after story. I was just telling Bernadette, like even at the last boot camp, it was awesome seeing all these amazing people. So like Nathan and Alexa, and got all our sort of successful graduates, but also total beginners. You'll hear from them and you'll see the sorts of websites and how they're renovating them. And by the end of the weekend, you'll have it in your head. You'll go, oh, so, so-and-so bought that little site for $500 on Flipper or whatever, and they did this. And you wait till you see the examples. Like Bernadette, this is our biggest, I think it's our biggest ever in terms of, it's taken us more than 4 days just to sort through all the entrants for the best website buys and builds. And so if you're new to this, you should definitely come along. It will blow your mind seeing what ordinary Aussies are doing, just like what you guys do with real estate though. But it's, with websites, how they're renovating them. And yeah, it is, I'm really excited about it. We've got, like I said, some very, very exciting examples, massive wins that even I didn't realize people were doing. And they're finding bargains. They're out there hunting around, Bernadette, finding these bargains. So you definitely want to come. It looks like I can see James is there. Hey, James. You definitely better be at the summit, James. This is going to be the most inspirational for you guys ever. You're going to absolutely love it.
Okay, so if you would like one of those tickets, what I would like you to do is to just jot in the comments, either now or after we've finished, why we should pick you, what what it is that you bring, like in terms of interests you about this particular strategy. And I think that's really interesting, like you were saying about how you can't get those returns from property. James and I bought a website on toilets, which we didn't know was on toilets at the time. Well, we thought it did, but we didn't put two and two together, for $100,000, but it was bringing in $3,000 a month. So that's $36,000 a year. It wasn't
that's without a reno yet.
Yeah. Well, we're sort of getting to the reno. Yeah. Yep. So, like you can't get that in property. And so I personally think that the two marry in really well, because when you're working in property, you have lulls in your income because a lot of it's project based. And so, and you don't want to use all your capital on buying property to hold because it restricts your capacity to do projects. And so you can be working on that in the interim while your income's coming from the next project. So I think there's a great synergy there.
It is. And we often, like I was saying to you, as you know, Bernadette, and maybe those of you listening have seen us, Liz and I often get asked to speak at real estate conferences. For the last decade, we're I actually got an email this morning asking us to speak at a conference because it's so unique what we do. And for exactly the reasons that Bernadette just shared, you can, at any level, particularly under 100K or under 50K, you can buy pretty good websites and fix them up. And I notice I say pretty good, and that's the opportunity. That's what we want. We want the kind of slightly, how do you say it, Bernard? Like what you guys do with property, lick a paint, tidy up the garden.
Pure upper.
Up here in Australia, up here in Queensland, we say, you don't want ones that you're re-stumping the whole house or doing the rewiring or anything. It's just basic fixer-uppers. Yeah, that's the word, fixer-upper.
Yeah.
And the cash flows are then, once you've got them set, we find a lot of real estate investors go, oh, wow, now I can see what Matt means. I can own a couple of websites and they're basically like a property. So we've actually here's a really interesting one. I love this because we get paid weekly off this website. We built a website for a local business many years ago. This is one of our shows. We do multiple sites like this. But I just love this lady. We've built this site for this lady and we still own it. And she basically leases it off us like you would lease a property. So every Monday, I get $400 in my bank account from her. And that's been going for, I know, nearly 8 years now. And so I look at our rental property. Now, little bit different. Got to admit, rents have gone up quite a bit. But I remember when we first started doing that, we had a rental property where we're getting $400 a week as well. So we still do own property because we're full-time investors. We invest in everything. But I always thought it was cute. I said to Liz, over the years, this website, we basically do nothing to it. And every week it's paid us $400. The rental property, we get hit with the tax bill, particularly recently, the land tax and everything and all that sort of stuff. Now, not like it's awesome having rental properties, but, it's worth over $1 million or whatever. Whereas we've just got this simple little website. We've got multiple ones of them. We can buy and sell them within 24 hours. I can sell it like that if I wanted to, just stick it on our Facebook page, whatever. But I just find it really cute. Often Liz and I'd say it to our kids, Mummy and Daddy want you to own property, but hey, look at these websites, what they do year in, year out. And that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So I'm sorry if I can't refer to you by name because StreamYard doesn't publish a name, but you said you took the words right out of my mouth. Just an amazing way to bring an extra income in between projects. Absolutely.
Yes, that is a good point. Or even out your income, because I'm thinking like Nathan and Alexa.
Yeah.
They were trying to do the, property thing in Sydney, and as a young couple, they maxed out. I think after a few, they were flipping properties, and he's an electrician, and they said it didn't. They needed that regular, more regular cash flow.
Yeah. Oh, it's Ali. Thanks so much, Ali. And James is referring to Cosmetic Plus Renovation, which is what we do. And to be honest with you, that's what the Matt's strategy is too. So you beautify the site, but you also add functionality to it, improve the functionality, which is really what brings in the money, isn't it?
Yep. And you don't need tradies. You don't have to talk to the bank. You do it all at home at night in your Jimmy Jams, a couple of hours a week, and you can be fixing up websites. And so, of course, once you learn how to own a portfolio of these, even just what we've learned over the years, or particularly in business, we actually learned this in a manufacturing business, but selling small items, like small dollar amounts, quickly compounds when you own multiple websites or businesses. And that's the cool thing. So on the surface, a website that makes $1,000 a month doesn't sound that exciting. Own 10 of them.
Yeah.
And the other thing is you renovate a couple of those, inevitably in your portfolio, you're always going to get one or two that take off, and they don't just double, they go triple and quadruple typically. So it's an 80-20 rule. There'll always be 20% that make you your most money in your portfolio. Same as shares, same as real estate. And that's the beautiful thing here. When you hit those winners, that's when we get stories like, as you know, Lisa, James and Bernadette, you guys know Lisa in our community, who bought a site for $2,000. And we're featuring Lisa on the weekend. We're going to get her up and give us an update. Now, during COVID, that same site that was making $2,000, just before COVID, it went to $5,000. And then during COVID, it was hitting $30,000 months. This is profit, by the way. This is not just sales, this is profit. And now it's come back from there and it's stabilized. But that site is probably worth up towards $1 million now. And it cost her $2,000. And it's not like there's no loan on it. She's just built that herself, with her efforts, but also she just has 2 team members helping her build that. That's an impressive, I call it, that's a light asset. She can sell that within a week easily, and she can replicate her skills, which she owns multiple sites as well.
Yeah. And I noticed that you mentioned the local website strategy. I've been talking to our Airbnb hosts about that because am I correct in you saying that it's quite easy to rank for a local site?
Yes, it is very, very easy. And that's one of the key strategies we teach. And actually, Bernard, that's a really good point. If you're listening to this, if you want to get started in this game, what we actually recommend these days is start with local sites, because you get a lot quicker result and they can rank a lot quicker. So if you can find a way to monetize a local site, like you might build a site for a local business, or we have quite a few members in our community who do the Airbnb strategy. And it's not something I've ever done. But what I've helped a lot of our members do is build sites for their Airbnb properties in addition to the Airbnb listing, and they just use it to help fill it. And so we're actually featuring one of our students' site on Rachel. She just did that in this year's. She was at the boot camp. That's how she's been able to. Her manager said you have the highest occupancy rate of anyone in this whole. She's got that in the Philippines, I think, that house.
I think it's Indonesia. Yeah.
Indonesia, my mistake. Yeah, in Indonesia. Yeah. And so she's used that to fill. She just sends the leads over to Airbnb, but bottom line is it's never vacant now, and she can charge top price. And we've seen multiple students of ours use that strategy. So once you've got these skills, this is something we're really passionate about, is just giving people digital skills so you can do whatever you want. If you know how to build a website, it's probably the number one bit of advice I give to anyone these days. Just learn how to build a website and SEO it. Then you can apply it to any strategy. And where I think Liz and I are really good, because of our background of buying and selling bricks and mortar businesses, we turn those digital skills into a money-making skill, which is not just getting paid for building websites, but for investing into websites like you guys do with real estate. We just turned it into that strategy. Literally, we just buy, renovate websites, and we hold them for the cash flow. And we just build up a portfolio. That's pretty much our strategy in a nutshell.
So there's 4 different things that you teach. One is building websites. One is renovating. One is investing. What's the 4th one?
No, that's the 3. That's what we stick to it. Yeah. So building websites. Oh, I know what you mean, because we talk about building websites either for local businesses or for your own portfolio sites. And then and that's the skill that gives you the really good skills to buy websites and renovate them for cash flow. And then the other one is, investing into websites.
Yeah.
So that's 3 strategies. Yeah, 3.
Yeah.
Building local.
But then there's also those little offshoots, like you referred to what is it? Build to rent. Is that what you call it?
Rank and rent.
Rank and rent. Yeah. So Yeah,
that's the one that I was talking about, that Liz and I have always loved doing that. You build little sites for local businesses, but instead of selling the site to them, we keep them and we just put their phone number on them and we rent them out to them for like $400 or $500 a week. So it works really well with tradies, and not during the boom, the renovations boom, but for those specialized tradies like concreters and stuff like that, they always want more leads, or air conditioning companies, or demolition, all that sort of stuff. So we just build, or Airbnb people. So we've had people I haven't done that strategy, but people in our community do use exactly the same thing, or they do it for, I'll tell you another good one is for you guys, is developers. So lots of developers will spend a lot of money on building an online presence. Well, I've seen our students build really nice websites for developers, and they can either lease them out or they can sell them the site. But it works it's a really effective strategy to keep the site yourself, because you own the asset. And if the business stops paying you weekly rent, you just get another business on there. Easy.
Okay, so that's awesome.
Yeah, it's just literally we rent out our websites.
Yeah, brilliant. So we probably need to start wrapping up a bit, but what's a skill set that a digital investor needs to build? With anything, there are some skills that are critical. What would you say they are for a digital investor?
I think the main one is understanding the overall writing strategy, which anyone listening to this is going to be perfect, because it's pretty much the same as buying and renovating real estate. So they kind of understand the overall strategy of where you're headed with it and what you're doing. But then beyond that, the 2 main skills I'd say you need the technical side, which we're really good at teaching beginners, as you know. That's our passion and specialty, and that is knowing how to build a website, knowing how to, traffic to it, but also the main critical skill you need to do if you want to buy and invest in websites is knowing how to do due diligence. And that's something we absolutely love teaching. That's what we're going to talk a lot about this weekend at our summit, doing due diligences on websites, because there is some specific things that you need to look at. Now, the good news is doing due diligence on websites, in my opinion, is way easier than bricks and mortar businesses. And it's the reason we can teach it. And I think that's a key money-making skill for the future, because it's so rare. Hardly anyone knows how to do due diligence on a bricks and mortar business, let alone a website business. So that, but once you've got digital skills, it's actually pretty easy to do because everything's tracked. So breaking it down is learning how to build a website, learning how to do due diligence on a website.
Awesome. Okay. Well, and so do we really quickly want to go and touch on Saturday again, the weekend, what's happening before we wrap up? Is there anything that I should have asked you that I haven't?
I think you've covered. They're all the things I'm passionate about. Like that's what I love teaching, because I know it works. So I'm presuming anyone listening to this is a total beginner. And they've possibly even never heard. Maybe they've heard Bernadette or James talking about buying their websites. So I think obviously there's a lot more we can go into, and come along on the weekend if you can, or do our free masterclass. But come along on the weekend if you can with Bernadette as her guest, because we're going to cover everything there, and we've got a whole range of people on the weekend that we're looking after. So we're most of the people in the audience are beginners, but then we've invited back all our graduates and some friends of ours who have 7- and 8-figure websites, and we're going to see a whole range. What we want to show over the weekend to anyone coming is all the different strategies that we do and what all our community members are doing. This is about featuring our community members. So you can just see it's not about going into in-depth technical stuff, because you don't need any of that. But we're going to show how they've renovated the websites too, like before and after shots. That's actually really good fun. So you'll see the sites that they've either bought or built themselves from scratch, and you'll get an idea of what the process is. Even if you're totally new to this, if you sit there for 2 days, you pretty much will pick up. Matt and Liz are good at pointing out how it works as well. We'll show you what we're doing on the websites. So even if you don't have the technical skills, you'll understand how these things are making money and how they're being renovated, and then how our clients are making, a really nice either side hustle, or they're actually quitting their job. So we're going to hear from a bunch of our clients who've quit their jobs and do this full time as well.
Yeah. And I think the other thing that's that I probably should have mentioned earlier, it's something we're focusing on at the moment, is renovating your retirement, because a lot of
I'm
like
going to write that down.
Australians, many Australians, the majority of
Yep.
Australians end up on the pension. And
that's right.
that is a miserable existence. And so one side we look at as at the family home, many of them have got plenty of equity in the family home to build some assets and income from that. But this is another great way that costs you next to nothing to get started. Yeah. And you do actually have people that are retirement age, I'm retired age, but I'm not retired, but
Bernadette, we've got heaps, as you know, like there's, and I take that for granted, because of our community. But yes, I should point, Bernadette's right. In our community, we have a lot of retirees and grey nomads. So you're going to, Bernadette, on this week, we've got live Annette, my favorite. She's retired. She's a grey nomad. She literally just retired. When was it? Before the last boot camp, like about 3 months ago. And she's connected up to Starlink. She's with her hubby Kev at Weepia, I think, at the moment. So she's just emailed me this morning and said we will have internet. And she goes, Matt, sorry, there won't be a beach in the background like Chris and Beck, but they are in a stunning location. And so you'll hear people like Annette, how they're doing it. And they've literally sold everything. They're traveling around Australia in a van, but they're making money off their website as they travel. And so, like you said, retirement is a really, really very important thing in our community that we like to help people, because big thing that we're really very passionate about, I would say, is you can hear Liz and I are risk averse when it comes to debt. We've nearly gone bankrupt multiple times because of being in such high debt. And so I think that flows through in what we teach to people. And particularly when you're going into retirement, we get very nervous when people are getting into debt again as they're going into retirement. And you don't have to. With websites, that's what we're sitting here teaching. You can build up these assets without being in debt, like having these heavy assets that Liz and I term. You don't have to have debt. And that's why it's such a cool thing. If you are heading towards retirement, you can be very safe with this. We wouldn't recommend you rush out and buy a 6-figure website or anything like that, because why? You don't have to. You can buy these small. So Annette's site that she's living off right now, or one of her favorite ones, only cost her, I think $5,000, and it makes $5,000 a month now.
Wow.
And they were ready to retire anyway, but what a nice side hustle income when they're traveling around Australia. And she's making the money off traveling around Australia. It's a travel site and you need to see how it works, and she's going to give us an update. But yes, retirement, if you are listening to this and you're heading towards retirement, I don't want to give financial advice, but I'm just saying, if it were me, I'd be careful about going into debt. And I think, like Bernadette said, and a lot of retirees in our community own lots of real estate, so they're asset rich, but they've got no cash flow. And I think actually that's like Annette. She said, "Oh yeah, we kept our real estate, but we need more cash flow off it, even though rents are high on them and stuff." So websites can just add to that, and they're really nice little assets that you can build up even in your retirement. So you can still be building your assets even in retirement. That's what I'm looking for, without debt.
Awesome. Well, listen, Matt, thanks so much for making the time to be with us. Just checking to see if there's any more comments, but we will include the link to Matt's masterclass training if you want to know more about it. And if you'd like one of those tickets to the summit to come with me, then please just tell me why you would like a ticket, and we will pick out the best. And there you go. So thanks again, Matt, and
Thank you,
take care. Thank you,
Thanks
Mike.
so much for having me on.
You're welcome.